So we're going to go into scouting for the very first time. Now, scouting is a formula, it's a process, and it's something you need to learn to repeat and get good at in your first couple of years so that you're dominant when it actually matters. As a one-star program, I'm not very confident we're going to be able to get very many good players, but I'm going to show you the process behind how I look at players and how I go for players so that it makes sense as, you know, we get further down the line and why we're doing things. And then we'll try to grab a bunch of like 2 and 3 stars and hopefully get a good recruiting class that'll replace some of these bums on our team. So prospect list, it's immediately going to show you your targets, who you should be going after. It's all 2 stars and 1 stars, which is not great. That green light over here means the game wants you to go for them. The ranking is like pretty obvious. It's their ranking. Then you've got the position, whether or not you need the player, which is, you know, use it how you want to. I have my own plan. I don't need a reminder on who I need. I know who I need. You can also sort by like alphabetical if you want to. And then you get their star ratings, their interest in you, the stage they're in, which is critical for recruiting, their state, which is fine, their pipeline, critical, their class, and whether or not they have offers. We use the vast majority of these categories in our scouting process, and here's how we do that. So I just sorted to 5 stars, and I sorted by their rank. So theoretically, we could get the #1 player in the class because he's willing to come to our school. He's not grayed out immediately. He doesn't have a deal breaker like the #2 player does. He theoretically could come to us. However, no one has offered him yet. I anticipate he'll have 20 offers next week. So we're going to be competing with the best of the best schools. It's extremely unlikely we could get him. I'm not even going to bother. So I'll use the different filters to find guys that I could potentially get. The only one who I might try to go after just for the sake of the video is JC Poe, who is the 22nd player in the class. He's a wide receiver, 6'1", 196 pounds. He is in our pipeline, which doesn't say much. We have the lowest potential pipeline, a bronze 1 on him. You know, it goes 1, silver's 2, gold is 3. Think like diamond is 4 and platinum is 5. So it goes bronze, silver, gold, blue, purple. Like, it's the lowest it could possibly be, and we're going to be competing with some really good schools. However, we can mathematically get him, so I'm going to at least offer him a scholarship and see what happens. So now let's take a look at the 4 stars. So I have my pipeline set. We'll take a look at that in a second. If you sort by target over here on this, you'll see who you can get who versus who you can't. You'll also see on your pipeline who you could potentially get from said pipeline. So this guy, Casey, is an agile athlete, which means he's most likely an offensive lineman. You also look at 6'3", 308, more than likely an offensive lineman, probably a guard, if I had to guess. He's someone we could potentially go after, and I'll add to my board because I need all the players I can get, and any 4-star that will potentially come to me is going to make or break my draft class or my recruiting class. So I might as well just add them to the board and see what happens. All right, and then we go down to the 3 stars. Now, this is where we're probably, as you can see, going to have some players who are interested in us. Right now, we are a 1-star program. We cannot be beggars. We cannot be choosers. We have to be beggars. So any 3 stars that want to come to us right now that aren't kickers or punters, I'm interested in. And there's an athlete here who's a quarterback, scrambler quarterback, who wants to come to our school. He's getting added to our board. This guy is our 2nd. He's not in our pipeline, but he wants to come to our school. We'll add him, and then we'll continue to add guys until we get to 35 added. Now, I paid 0 attention in this first run to deal breakers. I paid 0 attention to positions. All I looked at was 4 and 5, trying to get as many high players I can. Now is when I look at the overall board and see what I have and what I'm working with. Early on, you'll see you have a certain number of hours. Now, the hours is determined by your star's school rating. So the better you are, the more hours you have, which, you know, seems unfair, but it is how it is. I only have 450, which is a very, very low number to have. I have another goal here this week, is to offer all 35 scholarships. Now, I'm going to do some quick math on the telephone here. 35 scholarships, each one costs 5 hours to spend. So 35 by 5 is 175 hours. So 450 minus 175 is 275 hours. So I will offer 35 scholarships this week. I will also spend the remainder, the 275. I'm so bad at remembering numbers, my goodness. 275 hours on scouting and figuring out the players I want to go after. So let's look at quarterbacks. We added 5 quarterbacks to our list. There are 2 who say playing time is a concern for them, which is crazy considering the fact that they're replacing absolute bums on our roster. But they know that I have 5 guys on my board and might not be interested in competing for us there. So we might have to cut a couple quarterbacks off our list, and we'll have to do some determination to figure out who it is we cut. Running back, very similar thing. For me, I have a running back on my roster. We knew we liked him. So I'm probably not going to go after all of these running backs, especially if they're not interested in me. So we're already finding cuts to this list. Wide receiver, we need a lot of wide receivers. And we see this 5-star and a bunch of 4-stars. We are going to offer them scholarships just because it's worth it to us to potentially get them on our teams, or at least get them interested in us. So we're going to offer every single one of these wide receivers a scholarship just to see what happens. Now, if I had more hours, I would spend them recruiting or figuring out how fast these receivers are. And I'd use those hours on this scouting. However, there's a couple things working against us. One, we're a bad team. We can't be beggars. We can't be choosers. Or no, we are beggars. We can't be choosers. Number 2 is we don't have a lot of hours because we're a bad school. So we can't afford to waste them on positions we know we're going after anyway. And number 3 is more important. We need to go after the positions that matter. And so we need to save those scouting hours for positions where we're really going to make a choice on if we're going after 1 guy or we're going after 2 guys. This position, we're going after 5. We're just going to throw out the scholarships and see what happens. Now, tight end's an interesting one. I feel like, personally, I can make it work with most any tight end. And I have 4 of them on the board here. I don't think I'm going to offer any of them scholarships right now. This first look, we're just running through and getting our first list of scholarships out. I think I'll be okay without a 4-star tight end. I might cut all of these guys and from the board and not even worry about it. Now, these are 2 really good tackles. I feel I have a moral obligation to add both of them, but I know in my heart I'm not going to be able to get them. But it's just, even if it's just for the video, for the entertainment, watch me throw my life away, I'm going to go after those guys. And same thing with these 2 4-stars. Like, I know I need offensive linemen. I can't afford to scout them right now, but I know I want them on my team. I'm going to go for all 3. And this is the 3-star. So let's see how this one goes, because if I'm 4th on his list already and I offer him a scholarship, there's a chance I go to number 1 and can potentially get that recruit. I'm going to go the same thing for the center. I want all new offensive linemen. And I cannot stress this enough. In all of my Madden videos, I say offensive line's overrated, go for other positions. In NCAA, you cannot survive without an offensive line. Invest. So now let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Again, I'm trying to be cautious with my hours, but I know I need pass rushers. And like we talked about earlier in the video, there are speed rushers available, and that's my favorite kind of player. So if I have a chance at getting 2 that are in a pipeline, I gotta try. I gotta at least try. And what the benefit is too, is that, you look at some of these schools, Ohio State, Texas A&M, even Texas Tech, LSU, they're looking for 5-star players. There's a chance that they don't go for these 4-stars and I'm able to jump in. It's a low chance, but I gotta take it. Yeah, and then this guy wants to come to our school. We can't afford to scout him yet, but we might. The way that I'm thinking about this right now is I'm going to scout the quarterbacks and just try to pinpoint the best one and go all in. We didn't get any linebacker. We only got 2 linebackers in here. They're both 3-stars. They're both interested in coming to us. They're in bronze pipelines. I don't necessarily know if I'm going to go for them. We'll see. There's only 1 corner. I know I need cornerback. I'm going to offer this guy. Now, safeties are interesting because if I can speak my truth, I'd much rather convert a safety or corner to a safety than get a safety in the first place. This guy's, I'm going to cut immediately, Tracy Epps. There's much less competition for him, and we're already in the top 8, which is a good thing. However, There are teams with pipelines for him, and we do not have one. It's not worth it to me to go after him, so I'm going to cut him immediately from my board. Unfortunately, not going after him. These guys we have pipelines for. We have a little bit better chance of getting because we need. If we were further on in this franchise, in this dynasty, I wouldn't offer these guys scholarships, but I'm desperate for players at every single position. You gotta at least try. I feel like I'll be able to get a bunch of 3 stars. Later on in this process, I won't get 4s. Okay, so our first round through, we offered 19 scholarships. So we have another, if I can do my math correctly, 16 guys we need to make a decision on. The most important position here was quarterback. So right off the bat, I'm looking at the pipelines up at the top, see where I'm silver, and is there any way I can get any of these guys? I think the first thing I'm going to do is scout the guy who's interested in me. Because if he's good, I can cut the rest of them from my board and just focus on the one that I'm actually likely to get. Pause. Before I do that, when you get into your franchise, you get 5 coach points. You can go to upgrade coach skills, and you know what position you need to scout, and you know which position you need to go after. I'm going into my recruiter, and I'm immediately going to unlock my first tier of advanced look for quarterback in the passing game. Now I can actually look at those quarterbacks, and it's going to cost me fewer skill points, which is critical. So every single time that you get a coach point in the first 1 or 2 years, it should go towards upgrading the top 3 categories in all of these in the normal recruiter, not an elite, right? You should be focusing on getting good players. And the best way to do that is being efficient with your points and making them work harder for you. The first 3 tiers of all of these will do that for you. Okay. So the first time we scouted, he has Hall of Fame team player, which means in some capacity, he's already better than everyone we have. He has 89 acceleration, which is really promising for a speedy quarterback. You want to use a guy, he should be fast and have good throw power. Let's go again. Okay, we got a couple more ratings. He's not a fantastic thrower, 74 medium accuracy, but 83 break sack is pretty good for a 3-star. 78 throw under pressure. We know that that's one of the as a scrambler quarterback, we didn't go over their abilities, but that's one that really matters for abilities. He does have extender, which is a very good ability for scrambling quarterbacks. And we have a very good suspicion that he has a high throw power based on this current one. Let's go to the last one. Oh, that's killer. Okay. Realistically, he is not a fantastic player. He's a B- quarterback, but we have 4 Fs on our team. We have 4 Fs. And in a year that's so focused on rebuilding, he is going to be the guy we go after at quarterback. He's going to be our number 1 prospect. He wants to come to us. We know we're going to be at least okay with Mateo Giraldo at quarterback. He's going to be fine. We're offering him a scholarship. We're going to do it. And we beg him to come to our school. Now, knowing that, we're not going to spend as many points in quarterback. So we're going to take immediately AJ off our board. We're going to take Bryce off our board. We can still look at these other 2. They're not huge recruits. This guy is 226 in the nation. This guy's 303. We're going to try to get him. We'll take a look at scouting, see how deeply we need to go after them. Geraldo's going to be our guy unless one of these guys is nasty. And the first thing we see out of this scrambling quarterback is he has 91 acceleration. He only has 81 speed. So realistically, right? He's a 4-star player. He's going to be hard to get because other teams are going to compete for him versus Mateo Giraldo, where we're already number 1. I'm going to call this a sunk cost. I'm not going to scout him anymore. I know, like, maybe he has 95 throw power. Maybe he does. But this guy is 85 and 81 speed. He's going to be good enough for us. I'm not even going to go after him anymore. I'm done. I wish it weren't the case, but in a year 1 of this team, I can't afford to keep going. I got to cut my losses. I got to save those points. We're going to take a look at this guy as well. He's a field general. So again, different skill sets, different, criteria, different grading. 77 speed, 59 strength, 75 throw on the run. This guy I'm willing to go after because field generals have a little bit higher upside for overall, and he's a 4-star. I'm willing to go one more. Okay. Sony Talavu could be a dog. He is a diamond player, which if you haven't seen this before, diamonds mean there is something special about him, and it's most likely that their development trait is high. That's the most likely scenario, that or their skill caps are like basically uncapped. It's like one of those two things. He has 94 throw power and 77 speed. I would think about him like an Andrew Luck. I'd think about him like maybe just shy of a Tom Brady. He is someone who could be an absolute dog. I am so glad we waited. And the reason I scouted him extra was because he's a field general. I was more willing to have him have lower speed because I knew the other stuff might be good. And he had that Hall of Fame mental, or I call it Hall of Fame because it's 2K, the platinum mental ability clear-headed up in the corner there. He is someone we're offering a scholarship to. And I do think we are going to push for 2 quarterbacks in this class. I know we can only play one, but I need, like, you cannot survive without a quarterback. So he is going to be part of the team. Now, we've gone through all of our positions, right? We've gone through everything. We've assigned our most important contracts, right? We have brought 21 players in. And if I do the math on the old telephone again, 21 by 5, we've spent 105 hours on scholarships. We need to give out 14 more scholarships. So that's 70 more hours. So we got 100 and change or 190 change hours to play with. So we've gone through all of our positions. We've started to look at this. We know that we have 450 hours to work with every week. And if you can see right below, you go down a little bit, right to the clock with the hours and the numerator, the denominator. If we do the math, we are going to put 50 points on this quarterback and 50 points on this quarterback. That's 100 right there. Most likely, based on how our scouting goes, I'm probably going to put 50 points into this corner. And I will probably put another 50 points or at least 100 points into my offensive line, trying to get at least 2 of these guys. We are already at 450 hours. It doesn't go that far. It really doesn't. So we're going to have to make some tough decisions here on who we scout and how we spend these remaining hours this week. Because realistically, we look at our defensive ends. There's 2 4-stars in here. It's very unlikely we're able to get both of them. It's very unlikely. It's very unlikely. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 offensive linemen. They're all 4-stars, or 5 of them are 4-stars. We are probably not going to be able to get all of them. So we need to use this time to whittle down our list of who we're really going after and how we're spending our hours. So let's start with the most realistic candidates for who we're going to get and cut down the list from there. So let's start with the left guard. He has 77 run blocking, a gold mental ability that's worth looking into. 90 strength, 59 speed. We're going to stop here because strength is the most important and we got to save our hours. We know he's good. We know we like him. Didn't really get much there. Silver team player doesn't mean anything. I don't care about that one. 90 strength. We know he's good. We know he's good. We don't know if they're diamonds, but we know we like both of those guys. We're going to try to just be very careful with our hours here. So we got, okay, this guy has a physical ability. We know he has a physical ability. These guys we might not know. We just don't know any of his ratings yet. He has 2 physical abilities and 85 strength. As me, like, if I had all the hours in the world, I would finish scouting and make a decision. But I've already made my decision that the hours I'm going to put in future weeks are going to go to Lorenzo Swaim, because while he's probably the worst of the 3 players, he's the most, it's going to be the easiest for me to get him. He's already interested in me and he has abilities. Let's take a look at the tackles. 90 strength, team player, physical ability, 81 strength. I'm going to keep my scholarship on him, but he's the first guy to come off my list. Because although he has a good physical ability, I'm going to be fighting with a lot of teams for him. And unless he's a diamond, he's not going to be worth investing in. So I'm going to move on from him. I'm not going to spend any more hours scouting him. Do another one. Okay, Gold Screen Enforcer. That's not bad. I didn't get his strength, though. I'm going to do one more. Okay. 2 abilities, 3 mental abilities, and a diamond. This guy is a potential monster. And if you look, there's no purple, no purple pipeline tiers in here. Dan Casey is someone we're going after. We are going after, this is a 50-point guy. This is a 50-point guy. There's a chance people don't want him. He's in one of our pipelines. He is potentially a monster player with 91 strength, good blocking, 2 physical abilities, and 3 mental abilities. And he's a diamond 4-star, which means he potentially is a 5-star player. That is a stud. That is a stud. 145 hours left. So we get 14 more scholarships times 5, 70 hours. So we got to leave. We got to stop scouting with 70 hours left. So let's see how we do. Let's start with defensive ends. We didn't get anything with those hours. Got defensive ends. I'm bleeding hours trying to find out guy. Ooh. I just see, watch how quick of a vacuum that is. I just used almost 100 hours no. I'm bad at math. I just used like 60 hours and I learned almost nothing other than that Anthony Pena has silver recoup. Like, oh, great. That was a huge waste. I'm going to stop scouting the defensive ends. And frankly, I don't know if I can even go for them anymore. It's just not going to be worth it for me. We'll see. The middle linebackers, we know they're interested in us. We can't afford to scout them right now. We just got to be more mindful of our hours. So we're going to offer both of them scholarships. They want to come play for us. Go for it. We've done a second loop of all of our players. We've completed going through the roster twice. We're going to do one more and get our final scholarship list in. Anyone who does not make the scholarship list is getting cut. And then we're going back into the portal to get a new crop of recruits to get that targets number back up to 35. I think running backs, we need so many more positions and we need to be so mindful. We are not going to get a running back this season. We're either going to add one who's a 3, or we're not going to go for a 4-star running back this season. We're either going to add one in free agency, portal, recruiting, or something else. And I'm not going to compete for any of these tight ends. I have just bigger fish to fry. So now is where we can get a little bit targeted because we have a couple scouting hours we could use if we want to. But overall, the key here is trying to get guys on the roster and getting them here quickly. So you see the 3 stars who want to come to me, I've already come through. I'm going to then look at the targets list and see if there's anyone at positions of need. So this is where you hit R3 and go to this menu and say, how am I pacing on my scouting? How am I pacing versus my roster? And who should I really, really try to get? We know from our earlier look that we need corners. We have 8 corners on the roster. 1's leaving us next year. He's a senior. Two are leaving. Our best 2 corners are leaving us next year. We desperately need cornerbacks. So I think if nothing else, that's a sign for me already that I'm going to go into the 3-star prospects list with R2. And then with L2, I'm going to go to corners and see if there's any I can get. And look at this. There are 3 corners from high school who are in pipelines that want to come to me. Now, I don't know how good they are. It doesn't particularly matter. What I'm not going to do at this point is go for JUCO guys. I'd much rather miss out on them and go for guys coming out of high school. It's just going to be better off for me. So now you look at my corners list. I'm going after 8 of them. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I still have 4 safeties I'm going after. My defensive backfield potentially stacked next year. We'll see. If any of these 3 stars pan out, that would be great. I'm not going to bother scouting any of them. I'm going to go after them equally for now. All right, so here we have our 35 guys. And I sorted this by the national rank, which you can do by hitting square. I have 1 5-star I'm going after simply because I think there's a non-zero chance I can get him. It's very unlikely that I get him, but I want to at least try. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 4-stars I'm at least interested in. I've offered them scholarships. We'll see how it goes. Unfortunately, I don't have enough hours to get all of them. So by next week, a lot of them will be gone from my board. I'll just fill them with 3 stars. It's okay. And then I have a ton of 3 stars who I'm hoping I'm going to offer scholarships to and eventually convert, because they're either, so these guys are all interested in playing for me first, second, you know? So I'm really looking for positions I need, guys who are interested, and they're in my pipeline, because that's going to make it a lot easier to go get them. I did get this JUCO sophomore just because I'm first on his list, and there's a chance, and he's top 8 already. There's a chance I can scoop him up, but I'm not all that passionate about him. And there's another running back here who I'm second on. So I have made actually a critical error in that every scouting action takes 10 points, but every scholarship you offer is only 5. So you need to actually, to 100% use your hours, you need to offer an even number of scholarships so that you're not left with 5 points left after your scouting. So I'm actually going to, in order to use all of my scouting hours in week 1, I am going to take someone off my board. And that's going to be one of these defensive ends that I really don't think I have a chance at getting. It's going to be, it's just kind of a judgment call here. I'm going to take 66 in the nation off my board. I'm going to assume someone's going to go after him. We'll see if we can get Pena. And I get to add one more guy. Yay. So yeah, I mean, just to go over this one more time, to try to get your quote unquote bad players, your 3 stars, go to the 3-star list, find the position you need. I actually don't have any tight ends I'm looking at right now. Then sort by these 3 categories. The targets list, which should give you, the guys who actually want to play for you. You can go by interest to see if there's anyone who's like top 2 or top 1. Unfortunately, I have top 3. And then you also want to look at your pipelines and see who you can realistically get. So, but for me, the option is pretty clear. It's this Fate2 Dukes, great name, who has my top pipeline, wants to come play for me, and is in my recommended and is a 3-star. I'm going to add him to the board. I'm going to get him a scholarship. And then now we have 10 hours to spend on scouting. And I can think of a couple people I want to use this on, but I don't think there's any more important than this corner who, let's try to figure out something about him, because we have the extra 10 hours and he's going to be a swing player for us. Because if we can get him, if we know we want him, we can put hours into him. If not, we can use those hours elsewhere. And we learned nothing. Great. All right. I know this has been a very long video. Thank you for staying with me. If you are, drop a like. It means a lot. We've gone through our entire roster. We've gone through our recruiting. There's 2 more things we need to do before we wrap this up and advance this week. Number 1 is look at our red shirts. We have to know who we care about keeping around. And for me, and frankly, we've got to decide whether or not we're taking this year seriously. You need to take every year seriously, but you can take players at positions you want to hold on to and keep them out of the running. So for example, Derek Hobbs is a guy we potentially could redshirt. But as you remember, I feel pretty good about letting him go because he's a senior. He's not going to get all that much better. And unfortunately, he's going to play 2 years and be done. Or he's going to play this year and be done. Josiah Cox was the best player on this team. He's an 80 overall, impact development, 90 speed, 6'2", 200 pounds, run support safety. Fantastic player. Unfortunate for the 2024-2025 New Mexico State Aggies, he's going to be redshirt. I believe that he will be a good player, and this year is just not the year we're going to have him. He is going to sit his sophomore year. He's going to be a redshirt. He will play his junior year for us. He will probably not get drafted that year. He will play a senior year for us, and then he will likely be an NFL player. We're going to make that choice for him and keep him around. And I don't think there's another player that's going to be worth holding on to if they haven't already redshirted. I don't particularly care about a lot of these guys. And, I talked about that defensive end. I frankly, I just don't, or was he a D end or was he a linebacker? Noah Arinze, that was him. He already redshirted. So there's no one else I'm going to redshirt. That's step 1 of what we need to do. Step 2 is set your schedule. Now, it's critical that in your first year, you play a good schedule. So you play good teams and you win games at home. So What I'm going to do is look at my schedule. I am in the CUSA favorite conference. I am going to try and schedule teams schedule top 25 games and try to win them at home. Now, it's never going to happen that you play a top 25 team at home as the New Mexico State Aggies. But it's the game. You can do whatever you want. So as of right now, we are going to host FCS Midwest. We need a win early on in the season. We are going to play a conference game against Liberty. We are not going to bother playing Fresno State. We are instead going to find a top 25 team we think we can beat. All right, Washington is ranked 26th, and they're a low overall. Now, I don't know if they're still going to be ranked. Yeah, see, they're not even ranked right now. There's a chance they do get ranked by week 4 or week 3 when we play them. So I'm going to put them in. That's a relatively tough game. We're going to play it at home. So we're going to start 3 home games. We'll go away to Sam Houston, back home for New Mexico. New Mexico versus New Mexico State. That's a banger of a game. Might as well keep that on there. I think we have to play them. It's the rivalry game. And then we'll let the rest of the schedule go. It's all conference games, and then we'll play Texas A&M at home. That's our schedule. And that brings us to the start of week 2. If you guys like this, want to see how the scouting works out, please drop a like, comment, subscribe, follow, whatever it is, whatever platform you're on. I appreciate you being here, and let's get into the next one. Let's go.